I got a letter from my electric company, and it's part of. I get this like every couple of months, and this is their redundancy report where they tell me how energy efficient my house is compared to the average energy efficient house. Between December 17th and January 16th, I used 212 kilowatt hours. The average efficient home uses 240 kilowatt hours. And they tell me who am I being compared to, when the house was built, gives me detailed statistics on my electric use. And they send me this like about once a month, once every other month. And I can't think of anything that really qualifies celebrating energy efficiency and doing good for the environment quite like sending out little paperwork pamphlets telling your customers how environmentally friendly they're being by saving energy.
Let's just hope it's recycled paper.
You know, it's a good question. I don't see anything on here, but they do tell me this is not a bill.
Is it laminated?
For every 8,333 sheets of paper we print, a tree is planted. So at least they're going for sustainability. They're replanting the trees that they're cutting down to tell me that I'm being very environmentally friendly.
Right, okay.
It is a much more positive letter than the other ones that I get. I really think that it should be illegal for companies to brand their letters as something serious and authoritative. Like every now and then I get a letter in the mail that's red stamped final notice regarding your vehicle. And then I open it up and it's like, did you know that you can refinance your loan by switching it over to our company? That shit should be illegal, especially since there's usually no descriptive company name on the return address slip.
That's clickbait, isn't it?
It is clickbait. It's I think I should have a claim for emotional duress that it puts me under.
Of course.
Because I think that there's something going on with my loan.
I mean, if you got an email about it, it wouldn't be serious. You know, it wouldn't be serious. It's coming in the mail. It's serious.
Exactly. That, and every time I get a letter from the IRS, because I've been getting more advertisements from the IRS for different shit. And nobody wants to see a letter from the IRS.
Of course not.
Especially since TurboTax fucked up my New York State income return last year. I didn't get fined, but they told me that I was going to get a lot more than I ended up getting. And I ended up having to file paperwork with the New York State tax office afterward.
Oh, because they were like, yeah, this isn't right. You need to fix this.
Yeah, TurboTax told me that I was getting like $600, and then New York State was like, we'll offer you $23.
No.
After all was said and done.
Oh no.
I got very heavily cut down.
I'd say that went from like, good payday to lunch.
Yeah, pretty much. I think I actually spent it on a seafood boil.
There you go.
Okay, let's get the show on the road.
It's mighty strange. You looking happily deranged. I can't settle in bed. Or have you picked your target yet? Listen, dear. Don't your dog bite? Listen, dear.
See, this is exactly the intro music is exactly the thing that gets me energized to actually do this thing on a weekly basis. But to kick things off, you are listening to Online for Maintenance, episode number 2, Dear Gamers. I'm Connor, and this is my co-host Dandruff.
Hello, how's everybody doing today?
This is theoretically the official podcast of MMO Fallout. That's mmofallout.com. And you can check out the podcast on Patreon at patreon.com/mmofallout. And if you even want, you can support financially the absolute nonsense garbage that I do here on a weekly basis. And you can check me out on YouTube at Jamali. Where can people find you, Dandruff?
These days just lurking around on Discord. If you want to send me a message on Discord, that's fine. If you want to check out my old YouTube show, you can do that. But that's a bunch of news stuff from I think it ended in 2018, so you're not gonna really get anything out of it.
You can usually find us arguing with arguing with the usual people on the Sentinels of the Store Discord.
Yeah, that's generally where I'm spending my time.
Yeah. So there's been the world continues to turn. Things are going forward. I listened to last week's episode while I was editing it, and I thought, boy, we sure did talk a lot about a lot of queer games. And a coworker of mine at my day job, I was talking to them about video games, and they told me, boy, you really seem to have the best game recommendations. You always seem to know the queerest things that are coming out. And so I thought maybe, we could tone that down this week, make it a little bit less DEI, and I figure what better way to do that than kick off with what we've been playing. What have you been playing this week, Dandruff?
Well, again, Sea of Thieves, because that's just like my game. That's like my go-to. I found out that I've passed 1,300 hours, which is nice.
It's a
I,
ridiculous number of hours.
I know. I play it too damn much. I love it.
And I say that as someone who just hit 1,000 hours in Fortnite.
Oh wow. Well, good for you.
And also has about 7,000 hours in RuneScape.
I had two fun things happen to me this week. Okay. I had two fun things happen to me this week. It was I was out just doing my thing, trying to make a little bit of money, yada yada yada. When I was just kind of done, and I saw a boat in the distance, and I was like, I'm gonna go give them my stuff. I'm gonna go give them the supplies that I have. I've got a couple of crates. I don't really care about it. It's a couple thousand gold. I don't really need it. I just made 100,000 or whatever. So I roll up onto them, and the first thing that they say to me is, "Please don't hurt us," which is that's always a fun thing to come up on because you can when you played as long as I have, it's really easy to hand swabbies their ass. It's really easy to just pummel the living crap out of them. But it's also really fun to show them the ropes, get them to not be so green, try to get them to understand or tighten up their game loop, because the game loop is pretty much the same. You go out, you find treasure, you bring it back and sell it. You go out, find treasure, you bring it back and sell it. But you can make the game easier by knowing what to do, and it's entirely skill based. There's no progression in the game whatsoever. So I get on their boat, I give them literally all the supplies I have, all my food, all my wood, all my cannonballs, and then I start trying to set them up. Be like, okay, you want a crate here for this? You want a crate here for this? It needs to be full of cannon. It needs to be, put a crate right behind your cannonballs or cannon, so that way you can fill it full of cannonballs. You look right down for your cannonballs, look back up, start shooting again. And they're like, this is great. This is wonderful. You're amazing. You are so nice. And I'm like, I look around in their boat, and they got all their treasure underneath, by their captain's table. And that's a terrible place to put it because then you have to like individually run everything out. So I'm like, no, you want to put it in the front of the boat, and I keep trying to stack it for them, but I'm like, I look around, they have a ton. They have more loot than I am even comfortable with having. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna stay on your boat. I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you like sell your stuff. Like, don't worry, I'm not gonna steal anything. I promise. I'm here to help you. So we go to the port, and as we're approaching port, because they've got a chest that lets everybody know where they are. I see a boat coming at us, and I know I've played the game long enough. They're coming for us. They're gonna be here in 5 minutes. Um, I tell them, guys, get your stuff off the boat. Let's go sell. Get it all off. Get it off. Just you guys sell it. I can't sell it because if I sell it, then I get the money. So you guys just sell it. Um, they grab the harpoon gun. There's like a carryable harpoon gun, and they start trying to harpoon their loot off the dock or off their boat. And I'm like, no, what are you guys doing? There's a harpoon on the dock to get all your stuff from. It puts it right on a platform so that way you can just run back and forth to sell it. And the other boat's coming at us. So things are now really, really tense. And I'm like, sell guys, sell. I run onto their boat. I just start like trying to do what I can to take out the other boat. The other boat ends up sinking them. They got about half of their stuff sold. They didn't get any little small loot sold, but they got most of it sold before they sank. I tried to kill the guy that came in and was doing all this, but he ended up getting me, and then I spawned back on my boat, which was really, really far away. We didn't alliance up. I didn't know where the other people were or anything. It was just kind of like a sad ending to it. But that's just kind of the way the game goes, is like sometimes you'll meet people who are wonderful, and then 5 minutes later, somebody's trying to kill you.
Yeah, that's usually how those games go, and that's also a reason why I don't really tend to play those games. Now, if you had been playing Rust, then shortly before the other ship showed up, you would have killed both of them and stolen all of their loot.
This is true, but I don't always play like I'm trying to kill people. Last night I was though. Last night I found just a big keg, and I'm like, I want to go do something with this. So I find a big galleon. They're a 4-person boat, and I'm trying to chase them down, but it's hard to do it in a 1-person boat. So I find another boat. I just find another one that's just kind of sitting by. And so I jump, grab the keg, jump off my boat, jump onto their boat with it already lit, and just explode them. It didn't quite get them, but I ended up cannoning them down, stealing all their crap and leaving.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun sometimes. The other thing I do want to talk about, if you don't mind, is I finally figured out the weapon cache thing in Apex. I did experience that for myself.
Okay. Tell me more.
So yes, it's not really a loadout system at all whatsoever. You have weapon caches that have specific weapon types, and if you go there, you can get most of the weapons that are of that weapon type at the weapon cache. If you have already a weapon, or if you get one of the weapons from there, you can go to the side of the box and actually upgrade the weapon to give it some random attachments or better attachments than what you have. And then you can also loot it for ammo as well. So it is what I thought, that you could either go for it and just get guaranteed weapons, or you can use it as as like a backup. Hey, I didn't get anything. Let's go there and pick it up.
Okay. Do you choose the weapons that come out of the cache, or is it a random assortment but from a more limited pool?
A random assortment from a more limited pool, because there's different weapon types, like light, heavy, shotgun, sniper, energy, and you won't get every weapon of that type in the box, but you'll get a lot of them.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and there's usually 2 weapon types per box. Some of them have 1, some of them have 3.
Okay.
It's fun. It's honestly a good addition. I like what they're doing with the game.
Did you have the opportunity to play the Pirate Yakuza demo?
I still need to.
Okay. I'm going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, how has that been?
I love it. I have played several of the Yakuza games, and Yakuza is one of those series that if you can very clearly tell who plays it versus who doesn't based on how they react to the things in the newer games. Like, you see a lot of people who don't play the games that get angry about the fact that the Yakuza team over at Sega have a tendency to reuse maps between games. So the Pirate Yakuza game, it takes place, at the very least, the demo, and I'm pretty sure the full game will as well. The demo is split between Hawaii and the pirate base of Madlantis.
Okay.
And the Hawaii map, pretty much one for one, is reused from Infinite Wealth Like a Dragon.
Okay.
And the Yakuza games, they have a tendency to reuse maps. The games in the original 6 tend to use the same area of Tokyo, and the reason is because it's based off of a real life location. And I noticed that the reaction will usually tell you if someone's played a Yakuza game, because the people who get upset about it are the ones who don't play the game, and the people who play the games say, yeah, but I don't really care. I'm there for the story and for the ridiculous over the top nature of it. And we've talked about it before, and the Pirate Yakuza game, it is a real-time combat game. It's kind of like we talked about before with the very low, the combat encounters are almost like very small versions of Dynasty Warriors, where you have groups of people who walk around the map, and their whole purpose is for you to just beat them up in order to get currency.
Mm-hmm.
They respawn, 10, 20 seconds after you kill them. And in Pirate Yakuza, I noticed there's parts of the map where the game starts spawning in people who are on most wanted lists. And that itself is basically just combat encounters for you to get more money. There's no plot significance to them. I don't know if they're going to be limited in the game or if they're just automatically generated. But it's just a way of getting money.
Mm-hmm.
And I did notice that as you go through the game, there's little features here and there that aren't really explained in the demo, but will probably be more of a thing when the full game comes out. Like, you can there's certain NPCs that are walking around Honolulu with emojis over their head, and if you wave at them, it increases their friendliness.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's something where if you encounter them enough times, they might join your pirate crew. But my one of the best parts of it is seeing. So your main character is Goru Majima, who is from Infinite Wealth Like a Dragon, and he's the captain of his own pirate ship in modern day Japan, Hawaii, and it's hilarious because Goro is dressed like a pirate, and nobody else on your crew is dressed like a pirate, even though you're captaining this big, decrepit old pirate ship. So it's like, in the demo, I had on my crew is like a middle-aged dude in a bowling shirt and jeans. There was a guy dressed in nothing but a diaper for some reason. There was like, it's a bunch of like middle-aged, out of shape adults who are just pirating a captain ship and going around and just having fun and doing wacky, zany shit.
I do have
And
to play this.
it's great. You got to play the Yakuza games. Like I said,
haven't ever
they're
played any of them.
everywhere.
I hear they're a hoot. They're all different, and there's really different, interesting mechanics in all of them. Like they're not like any one specific thing.
Right. It's like they all have these little quirks. They all have these little mini games. There is a mini game in Infinite Wealth where you have to ride a bike around. You have to ride a bike around collecting milk, and it almost acts as a Pac-Man style game where you're going around, you're collecting milk on the map, and instead of ghosts, it's other people on bicycles who are also trying to collect milk. And you can collect little power pellets that give you the ability to supercharge, and you can like knock the other bikes out of the arena. But it's just these, especially from Infinite Wealth on, it's about middle-aged, not really like great-looking guys, just kind of going out with different miscreants of society and just sort of like doing shit and having fun.
That sounds great.
One of the staples of Yakuza, which is of course back in Pirate Yakuza, is you have more restaurants than a game needs, because the only functional purpose is to get your health back and give you some stat boosts. But you can go to restaurants. You can apparently raise your affinity with the people running the restaurants by buying stuff from them. I don't know what long-term benefits that has. There's a few mini games in the demo that I checked out. You have darts. There's the series staple karaoke, which is just a rhythm-based game, kind of like I don't know, Dance Dance Revolution or something like that.
Isn't it like Bust a Groove? I think.
Kind of. It's just hitting buttons
Yeah.
in time.
Yeah, but still, that's fine for like the karaoke thing.
Yeah, and it's all about like, I don't know. It's taking it the games themselves. The story modes for Yakuza have never been hugely long. Like I was playing through Yakuza 0, and if you just blow through the storyline, I think there's like 14 chapters in the game, and each chapter might take you 20 minutes to a half an hour. But it's all because of the things that you do in between the chapters. There's a lot of in Kiwami 0, you end up opening up like business management, all of these side missions with their own wackiness. There's definitely, if you play through the Kiwami games, you definitely have to know that there's stuff in there that hasn't quite aged well.
I have not
There's
played it, so I wouldn't know.
there's a side mission in Kiwami 0, for instance, where you uncover a high school racketeering operation that's run by a high school senior girl, and she has basically enlisted the other high school girls to sell their used panties to like grown-ass dudes. And you have to you're trying to get you're trying to help one of the girls because she's trying to get out, but she's basically being blackmailed by the leader of the group. And you go to the leader and you try to explain to her that, like, this isn't the kind of business you want to be in, and the clientele aren't the best people that you're working with.
Maybe.
And you eventually have to rescue her because one of the guys that they're selling panties to shows up with a knife. And so you beat up him and his crew, and the girl's like, yeah, I'm not going to do this anymore because we're actually not dealing with good people who want to buy high school girl panties.
Yeah, wow, gee. I mean, who could have thought?
Right. And they do have, in the Yakuza Kiwami games, there's a bunch of dating. There's a couple of dating missions that highly they use, without going into too much detail, they use sexual assault against the main character as a punchline to a joke. But it's also something that if you go into the game knowing that exists, you could probably play through the whole game without even stumbling upon those missions. But it's like it's a side mission series that's tucked away in the corner. It definitely hasn't aged. I mean, I would say it wasn't great when it came out, but it hasn't. It's aged even worse.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a very tiny portion of what is otherwise a fantastic series. A lot of the Yakuza games from 1 to 6 have to do with Kazuma Kiryu, who in Yakuza 0, you are framed for murder and kicked out of the Yakuza, and you have to clear your own name and figure out who framed you and why. Because the Yakuza, like, the big thing is that they don't kill civilians. Especially not killing them with a gun. But the Kiwami games they have a lot of silly, often weird side missions. The general plots tend to be more serious, and then once you get past Yakuza 6 and you get into like infinite wealth like a dragon, it starts to get a little bit a lot sillier. But the Yakuza games, they're great. It's something to play when you just want complete silliness. Like in each iteration, the special attacks that you get more and more over the top. In Pirate Yakuza, Goro in the demo has access to his one special attack. Well, you have two special attacks. One of them creates a bunch of doppelgangers that go out and start beating up the enemies. In the other one, you get treated to a fantastic cutscene of Goro pulling out a lute and playing it, and then a bunch of sharks appear and start attacking. They do the Jaws style attack, but like through the ground. So you play a lute and you start and sharks show up and start attacking your enemies on your behalf. And again, it's hilarious because everything outside of Madlantis, which is like the Pirates of the Caribbean, the ship graveyard that they visit, that they go in, I think it's the second movie. But you're in Hawaii you're the only person dressed as a ship's captain. An old, like, 1500s Johnny Depp style pirate ship captain, and everyone else looks normal. And it's just this ridiculous old man playing a pirate ship captain, but also inexplicably you have like these magical pirate abilities, but it's all in the grounded world of Hawaii, or the Big Pineapple as he calls it.
The big pineapple.
Yeah. And nobody thinks anything different of the fact that there's a guy running around the beach dressed in an old decrepit pirate suit.
I will play this by next week.
Okay. You should play it.
I feel like I'm missing out now.
There's the full game will have actual control over your ship as you sail. The demo has an arena in Madlantis where the game to show off pirate ship battles, and it's a manner of you have a front-facing machine gun, you have side-facing cannons, and then once you cripple an enemy's ship, you can board them, and that's when you have the pirate battles on the main deck. And that in itself is going to be its own thing, because you can recruit and level up and equip your crew. So that's like going to be its own game mechanic. You can go through the world and find items that you can give to your crew as gifts.
Okay.
That increase their morale. And there's something just beautiful about I had to go up against a pirate captain in Madlantis, and his name was Keith. And it does like this big dramatic Borderlands style introduction where he comes out as a pirate captain. It's just like Keith the pirate captain, and his crew of just like out of shape adults all dressed in normal clothing. And it is a beautiful game. But to continue on with another new game to talk about, I beat the story mode for Spirit Swap.
Oh, good. Okay.
Speaking of not making this episode very queer, every character in Spirit Swap, as the developer has said, is either trans and or non-binary.
Okay.
And my favorite part, the thing that Spirit Swap makes me love about my job is, as my own editor, I can choose whatever headline I want. And I published an article about the third level of Spirit Swap being very difficult. And my headline was "Getting Railed by a Polycule." And
Which
it's because the third...
That sounds lovely.
It's the third level of the game. For some reason, the difficulty just spiked.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up turning the difficulty down to the lowest level and playing it on that. I got through the story mode. It took about 2 hours, and after that, that's when the dating simulator part of the game comes up. And by dating simulator, I mean it's mostly reading through text boxes and occasionally playing Spirit Swap with the group. But you do get a lot more insight into the characters, and I love the characters in this game. Specifically my future husband, Ishkander, who I have sent you screenshots of.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So he's like so pretty.
Oh yes. And Ishkander, during their whole kind of storyline, the whole plot in that is that they have injured themselves while working out, and are not willing to admit it. And as you go on dates, you slowly get them to admit, okay, maybe I need to take it easy. And also they're getting over their breakup with Mo. Mo being the sort of BDSM demon that's in the game. The polycule storyline is one of my favorites because the polycule is this group, and when you meet them in the storyline, they're all wearing industrial grade earplugs because
Okay.
one of the members of the polycule, Dio, is a DJ who is constantly DJing in their house at a ridiculous volume. And so everyone's wearing industrial grade earplugs. And over the course of the story, you Theo and Leo you help them find the courage to tell Dio, like, maybe you could DJ a little bit less and at a lower volume and not during the hours where we're trying to sleep. And it's all about learning to compromise in a relationship. And then you join the polycule.
Oh, okay.
And then you become a member because you can smooch up every single person in this game.
As you should.
Yes. There's another character that I'm currently working on where she owns a bakery and is always baking. I've never seen a game with this level of, like, not just, I guess, gender representation, but also, if you've seen the art for the characters, there's a lot of plus size representation.
Yeah, there's lots of diversity in it. There's
a lot of diversity in gender, in sexuality, and in body type representation.
as well as just in general personality, it seems.
Yes.
You know, it's not just one type of person. They're not all just the same kind of character with different 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 coat of paint on each one. They're genuinely, like, they have different, like, wants and desires. Or at least different ideals about how a relationship should go. Because I think you were talking to me about that one that, like, they were clearly in an abusive relationship, but they were both enabling each other. So it was, quote unquote, working for them, but it's clearly not working for them because they're miserable.
Right. You do encounter a lot of characters, like you yourself as Samar, in the storyline with the polycule. Part of it is healing past trauma because you were in a relationship long before the polycule formed. You were in a relationship with Dio that went very negatively. And there's characters in here that were in relationships with each other that ended poorly, like Iskander was in a relationship with Mo. So part of the story is you helping both of them deal with that breakup. And there's a lot of themes of selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
And people getting a lot of the relationships breaking up because people weren't thinking about the other person.
Yeah, because it's okay to have It's okay to be selfish in a relationship. It's okay to have needs. It's just not okay to only be fulfilling your needs, to only be selfish. You have to give as much as you receive in relationships. And at least I hope that's what the game is teaching.
Yes.
Yeah.
Teaches that everything is a give and take.
Yes.
And also that match 3 is a is an allegory for sex.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do love this game. I'm waiting on the makeship. They have a plush of the frog from the game.
Ooh, cute.
That I saw and I needed to buy. I'm gonna post the it doesn't come out until July, but this frog has the most caked up butt cheeks.
Frog got
And-
cakes.
And I
Gotta
need
get
it.
it.
That frog's got cheeks.
Mm.
But yeah, I would normally I would normally not really give a match 3 game a second look, but the art style is fantastic. The characters are great. The match 3 really becomes secondary to the dating once you get past the story mode. The soundtrack is great. It's just a fun, relaxing game. And also everyone in it is hot. So if you want a very thirsty, horny game that also has match 3 stuff in it, then there's a lot of people with wearing fishnets.
And you know how much we love fishnets over here.
Oh yes. But I will continue on to the third game that I'm playing, and it's more of a status update on Alan Wake 2.
Oh, okay.
And I'm loving Alan Wake 2. The more I play, the more this game is just charming the ass off me. So Alan Wake 2, I don't really remember too much of what I said about it last week. But the I'm about 6 chapters into a 9 chapter game. So
Okay.
I feel like if I go back, once we're done recording here, I'm probably going to go back and play more of it. I could probably finish it tonight. But
Take your
it's
time.
9 chapters, but technically 18 because it's 9 chapters for Alan and 9 for Saga Anderson. I do love how once you get past chapter 2 or 3, the game really expands for both of them. Both of them have their own mind palace where you can review notes, look at clues, see where the plot is going. But as a police officer, Saga's mind palace is police oriented. It's a big bulletin board where you have like sticky notes and photos and stuff that have the prerequisite yarn tying them together. Whereas Alan Wake's mind palace is that of a fiction writer, where it looks like the storyboard for a book.
Mhm.
Because Alan Wake, being the unseen writer who's kind of he is projecting his story and writing the events as they happen. He is creating the things that happen in the game.
Uh-huh.
But if for something that's going to spoil nothing, there's an entire chapter of Alan Wake's story that is a musical number.
Ooh, we love musicals.
And you can look it up on YouTube and watch the whole thing. It's not going to spoil anything because it will make absolutely no sense if you have no idea what's going on in the game. But it's a musical number, and I love seeing like Alan Wake, Sam Lake, because the musical number is all live action.
Uh-huh.
So it's these characters who are normally very serious doing these ridiculous over the top dance routines.
That does sound wonderful.
But I'm still playing the game on story mode, and I love that the story mode really goes into the I don't want to be challenged by the combat in this game.
Uh-huh.
And as a result, I have stockpiled so much ammo and like special weapons because even the bosses will take 2 or 3 shots to go down
Okay.
because it's story mode.
Yeah.
And I am enjoying this game infinitely more not having to worry about getting killed or having to get really good at the game and having to play through the same sequences over and over again. More so than the first one, the story plays such an important role, and the atmosphere being what it is makes the game it's enjoyable without the random combat elements.
Okay. Yeah, because sometimes I've gotten the point. I've played some games where like the random combat just is getting in the way.
Mm-hmm. And especially in a game, you want to have that feeling in a psychological thriller or a horror game.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember playing Condemned 2 back when that came out. It was the only game that ever made me throw up. And although with Condemned 2, I played that on the PlayStation 3. I got the game the day that I was sick with the flu, and the combination of the like disgusting imagery and sounds in the game made me nauseous. And it's the only time a video game has ever made me throw up. But Condemned 2 has a lot of sequences where it's scary, but you very quickly lose that fear when you die and have to play through a sequence over and over and over again. And I used to have that same feeling in Amnesia: The Dark Descent, where you would get kind of caught in an area, like during a couple of the boss-ish encounters. There's a boss pretty early on in Amnesia: The Dark Descent where it's a character that is invisible, but the ground is covered in water. And the whole idea is that you have to wait until they pass by and then kind of go from surface to surface without spending too much time in the water. And there's a part after that where you're being chased down a long hallway and you have to open up doors and get through. And it took me like 4 or 5 tries to get through that because you have to manually hold and open doors during those sequences. And I kept getting killed. And eventually the fear turned to frustration. But yeah, Alan Wake 2, I'll have more to talk about that next week. And now that we finished talking about the games, we can go on to the second part of the show, talking about some things that have been in the news. And the first article I wanted to pull up was that Valve has seemingly banned Steam games that rely on advertisements to play. Now, how familiar are you with this?
I am aware that they exist, but I have not encountered a game that would do this. And quite frankly, I think it's kind of ludicrous.
I think it comes down to, it's basically a procedural thing, almost. I also haven't seen any games that use the system, but also I don't play mobile ports on Steam. And I think that, so to explain this rule, Valve have not so much instated a new policy, but the rule has been in place for a few years now, and they set up a dedicated page in order to clarify that games on Steam are not allowed to be monetized. You're not allowed to have paid advertising. You're not allowed to have an advertising-based revenue model. You're not allowed to give players incentives to watch ads, like giving them in-game bonuses for watching advertisements. Basically, you can't do anything that involves advertising or, I guess, some level of like giveaway or sponsorship as the revenue model for your game. And
It sounds like they're tying advertising to a game mechanic in every way.
right, basically how most mobile games are monetized.
Correct.
And I believe that a lot of that simply comes down to money. Not just because Valve wants their cut, but because it's a lot harder for them to determine how much the developer's making in order to pay out on what Valve's cut should be, as opposed to payments for DLC and the game itself, where that can be very easily turned into a metric, or that's something that Valve can track.
Mm-hmm.
I think it all pretty much comes down to just Valve wants their cut. And I get that. They're the platform holder. They need to keep everyone accountable, especially on Steam, where, people are, you always have to assume that developers are going to try to get around the system.
Unfortunately, yeah, that is the world we live in.
Yeah. And it's with the unpredictability of advertising fees, it's also very difficult for Valve to figure out what they would be owed if a game is running either majority or even fully off of advertising revenue. So I get that. I haven't really seen much in the way of response to it that is against it, outside of people just kind of saying, I don't play mobile shit.
Yeah, because this is taking what seems to be exclusively mobile game mechanics, watch this ad to continue, watch this ad for 10 free coins, watch this ad for this skin, whatever. I've encountered that on mobile games. I have not encountered that on a PC game, even a free-to-play one. And it just, I agree with you that Valve is doing this for financial decision. Obviously, you follow the money, money rules the world. I'm hoping in some way that this is also some kind of moral, ethical decision, maybe, that they don't want this kind of mechanic to encroach on PC gaming. I don't know if that's necessarily their motive. I can't say that it is. But I'm hoping that it's just we don't end up with more of the same from the mobile market, and then Overwatch has a watch this ad to start matchmaking.
Yeah, you would kind of hope. It seems for the most part that the PC market has rejected most of those ideas. I've written about it and talked about it in the past, of sort of the culture shock that mobile game developers get when they come to Steam, where you get these games that they release on the Apple and Google Play Store. They get 2 million downloads. They get millions of downloads. They get 4.5, 5 stars on the mobile stores, and they're extremely popular. And then they release a port onto Steam. They get like a maximum of 20 people playing it, a 10% overwhelmingly negative review score, and everyone is in the forums like, get the shit off of Steam. Why are you even here?
Because the standards, first of all, they tend to offer incentive. I've seen incentives offered for higher rated reviews, or like mobile doesn't seem to have the same kind of like, the way they approach things seems to be much different on a mobile platform. Because like you don't need to rate games on Steam, and it doesn't ask you to rate games on Steam. Mobile games are frequently like, hey, can you rate us on the Play Store? Yada yada yada. Rate us
Yep.
5 stars and you get us this. You might get this extra thing, or you will get this extra thing for a 5-star rating. Which like that'll fly on a mobile store. That's people will see that as acceptable. You bring that over to Steam, the hell.
I've caught shit a lot in the past because I've said that mobile gamers have next to no expectation of quality for their games. And I know that because I used to get sponsorship offers for doing mobile game reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And I had one that it turned me off of covering mobile games pretty much permanently. I had a review for a game from maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. But there was a mobile game that the developer came to me and they said, we want you to do a review of our game because we're having a crossover event with Ruby, the Rooster Teeth anime.
Okay.
And they said, what we're going to do is we're going to, we can't give you the characters for some reason, but set up an account, send us your account details, and we will set you up with a pack to take part in the event. And there were 4 characters in the event, one of which you got for free, and the other 3 were locked behind loot boxes.
Okay.
And I shit you not, I looked in my account after they loaded it, and they put $750 worth of cash shop currency in my account.
Oh, so they want everybody to think that the way that you're playing with that extra $750 is just what everybody will get.
But here's the thing.
Huh.
I spent all $750 of that over the course of about half an hour, 45 minutes,
Yeah.
buying and opening up the loot boxes for the Ruby event. I
Okay.
got 2 characters.
Oh. Oh.
And that's when I said, fuck this. I'm not doing this review.
Whoa, yeah.
I spent $750 of not my own cash on the Ruby event for this game, got 2 of the 3 characters. I went over to the forums, I went over to the Reddit for the game, and I saw people in the comments who were like, man, I spent $1,100 on this event and I didn't get all the characters. I guess I have to wait until my next paycheck to put more money in.
Oh, no.
And there was like one person who was complaining. There was a guy in another thread who was complaining. He's like, I've spent $500 on loot boxes for this event and I haven't gotten all the characters. And there were people in the unanimously, the responses on the Reddit were, then why don't you fucking spend more? And people making comments of like, you think that's bad? During the last event, I spent $2,000 to get all the characters.
Did they, when they said you should just spend more, was it followed by boss?
There was no psych.
They're sheep if they think that you just spend more. How is $100 not enough? How is $100 on this thing not enough to have everything?
And people always talk about um it it doesn't make when you talk about stuff like Apex Legends requiring $250 to earn everything in an event, it doesn't make that better.
No.
But it puts into perspective the serious amount of I would say unattended gambling addiction.
Yeah, because in Apex, like my friend had figured it out. For that one skin that's coming out, whatever, it's $270. You will spend $270 for it, but you won't spend more than $270 for it. And that I think is a big differential, is that if there is a finite amount of money for like the thing on Apex, people are definitely more accepting of that. People buy it. If
Right.
you were to try to bring what you were talking about, how people spent $2,000 and they didn't get everything.
Yep.
Who's
And it's
who's the insane one now?
yeah,
I don't
and
know.
and the depressing part of it is it's like looking into a room of alcoholics,
Yeah.
because not only the attitude scares me more than the amount, because people,
There.
you would think that people would be looking at it like, oh, I spent $2,000 and didn't get all the skins, of which there are 4 for this dog shit ass mobile game.
That's not that many. Like you shouldn't. 4 skins should be gotten in like $50. Come on.
Right. But the fact that the general tone around this is it's addicts supporting addicts, where it's
Yeah.
people in the Reddit who are like, I spent $2,000 and didn't get all the skins for the Ruby event. Oh, those crazy devs. Anyway, this event is great. I just need to wait until my next paycheck comes in, and then I can put another $1,000 down.
Aren't the devs kooky?
Oh yeah, aren't they crazy? I can't wait to see what crossover they'll have next.
Aren't they fun? I can't wait for the next one. I'm gonna leverage my car.
Right. And you do get the people who are you get both sides of it, where you do get the people who are like, hey, um I work in finance and I make 6 figures a year, and me dropping $1,000 on a mobile game, like, I could spend that on lunch and not give a shit.
They're just bragging then. It's nothing
Yeah.
to do about the game.
But then you get the people on the other side who are like, my wife is divorcing me because I spent my paycheck on gotcha skins. And then she looked at my phone and was like, why are you spending $1,000 on anime titty girls who look like they're in high school? I'm taking the kids and I'm leaving. Like, hey, we're behind on our mortgage payment. Why the fuck did you spend $2,000 on this mobile game?
Yeah. Like,
But they go to the Reddit, and then the Reddit's like, like, tell your wife to get a second job then. It's addicts supporting addicts. And it is depressing. I don't remember what we were originally talking about. We got very far off. we got very far off topic. Valve banning in-game advertising.
Which is why we don't want this, is because that's what I was talking about, the moral part of, like, I'm hoping Valve is doing, because if that happens, we will see that on Steam, and I don't want to see Steam addicts.
Right. Valve already has enough of that shit with hoarders and gamblers on Steam, between the Counter-Strike item gamblers, the people who have enshittified the discussion boards by farming Steam award points, all of that fun stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Valve has enough problems without introducing mobile advertising.
The stuff that was just supposed to be for fun, people were like, no, that's the game now.
I can't stand the I can't stand the the removed game collectors.
I don't mind it in principle, as just a, hey, I collect games that have been removed. That's fine. That in and of itself is fine. It's when they start putting pressure on developers, which I have personally seen happen. I saw that happen to someone, that someone was going to, like, they pressured them to take their game down. And when they did announce that they were taking their game down, they were like, they then pressured them again. Put it on discount. Put it on
Right.
70% discount. Put it on 80% discount. Nobody's going to buy it anyway. You're taking it off and nobody knows about it, so you may as well just get what you can. And it's like, that is the attitude that is absolutely toxic.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've made enemies of that group already, and I don't know if any of them are going to listen to this podcast. But for the people who are in the removed game collectors groups, you are antisocial, toxic fucking pricks. The best thing for this community would be if all of you were banned from the internet for the rest of your lives. I have seen, and I say that, and the reason that I hate these people is because there was a developer whose game got taken off the Steam. Their game got taken off of Steam, and it was because the developer died. The developer died of cancer, and his brother, when cleaning out his estate, put up an announcement on the forums, and he said, "Hey, I'm the brother of the developer. He passed away. I'm having the game taken off of Steam. I'm having the game taken off of Steam because I'm not a game developer. I would not know the first thing about continuing his work, and also I have no intention of becoming a game developer." The removed game collector people started out asking him, "Can you put it on sale?" And he came back and he said, "I don't know how to do that. Like, I don't know how to work in Valve's ecosystem. I just sent them a letter and a copy of his death certificate and said, hey, he's dead. Please close out his account, like remove the game from sale." So the removed game collector community started harassing him, questioned questioned whether or not the brother was actually dead, and accused him of being lazy and like trying to get sales from the game using his brother's death as sympathy, and accusing him of lying about like not knowing how to put the game on sale. So they brigaded and harassed this guy who was doing nothing other than cleaning up his brother's estate and
taking care of
accusing him of all of this shit.
Oh my god.
And that's when I went from annoyance to actively despising that group.
Oh my god. Yeah, anything that they do beyond simply collecting removed games is harassment. Anything.
Yeah. They are at their heart, they are hoarders. They're the digital equivalent of I had a neighbor at my old apartment, and she she died, and we went into her apartment to help clean it out because my dad was the property manager. We didn't own, like, he just worked for the company that owned the he just showed the apartments.
Yeah.
But we went in there and her house was piled with newspapers. And her sister, we talked to her sister, and her sister had tried to help her out over the years, and like she came over a couple of times to try to clean the apartment out. And every time it was like, no, I need that. That's important. I need this copy of the Buffalo News from October 5th, 2014, because it's going to be important at some point in the future.
Yeah.
And it's hoarder mentality, and it's just kind of gone to, it's basically just evolved to a digital form. And then that's what the removed game collectors are. They're hoarders. They're not going to play any of these games. They try to make excuses saying, "Oh, I'm preserving gaming history."
Yeah, I'm a digital hoarder, but I just have a server with like a bunch of hard drives.
But these people are completely insane, and like not in a redeeming or, positive way.
No, I'm not harassing anybody by having a bunch of hard drives.
Right.
I don't even have that many. I don't even have that many.
I have two. I upgraded. I have a 4 terabyte hard drive that I have digitized a lot of my DVD collection on.
I got 3 of those. I mean,
I might
don't
need
have that
another one.
much.
But that's
I got
like,
I got 3 4s, I got an 8, I've got a couple of 2s, and I got a couple of 1s. It's really just it's not bad. It sounds like a lot. It's really not.
but you're not giving it a bigger. You're not trying to ascribe a higher purpose to it.
No, it's just data collection for my own purpose. And just it's like baby pictures and like media and like all of my YouTube stuff. It's not like
Right.
I'm doing like weird things. That's so oh my God, that's so weird to like harass somebody's dead brother over
Oh yeah.
their final business and like, hey, I don't know how to do that. And it's like, does one removed game mean this much to you?
Over one indie game that I think was still in early access.
Yeah, it's like, holy cow. It'd be like, it if that were me, I'd be like, hey, why isn't the game updating? Oh, the developer died. And this is his brother. Oh my God, that sucks. Well, one, that sucks that your brother died. Two, I'm not gonna get a finished game. But three, oh God damn, be with your family. Oh my God, I am so sorry that happened. Well, I close up shop. That's the end of it for me. Not put the game on sale, and I don't believe you that you don't know how to do it.
I'd also like to note for posterity, with them harassing this guy over not putting the game on sale, the game was like $6.
I don't even know what to say to that.
So it's not like it was a $20 indie game. Like the guy probably wasn't even going to. The game probably wasn't even like at the $100 threshold that Valve has for paying out, and I don't know what the policy is if if the developer dies and the account gets closed out. I don't know if they send like a $40-$50 check or whatever's below the $100 amount. But the guy wasn't. They accused him of cutting and running with the cash, and I don't know what cash they think the guy was cutting and running with. I mean, it probably didn't pay the cost of figuring out how to contact and like give Valve the proper paperwork.
I'm baffled
Um,
that people could
but
be that entitled.
right, But I'm gonna move on to our next news bit. Nintendo has been Nintendo's been handed a little bit of an L over the last week
This one's really
in
interesting to me.
in their Pal World lawsuit. Nintendo has been rejected for 22 of 23 patents.
And then the other
And
caveat to that.
yes, they were granted one patent on the grounds that they drop the other 22 patent claims. And this is all part of the ongoing Pal World lawsuit. And it's funny to me how the general consensus of the internet has sort of shifted against Nintendo just gradually over the last 10 or so years.
Well, I don't want to get into my opinion on Pocket Pair or my opinion on Pal World, mainly because I just think it's irrelevant. What I want to get into is that what seemed to not make sense to me is that when Nintendo first brought forth the lawsuit to Pocket Pair, Pocket Pair has done millions of sales. And at $40 a pop, that equates to tens of millions of dollars, possibly even hundreds of millions of dollars. A boatload of money.
Mhm.
And when they brought forth their lawsuit to Nintendo, they were like, "Yeah, give us $16,000."
I think it's 66,000 they're looking
Oh,
for in
$66,000. Give
in
us
the Japanese lawsuit.
$66,000. Even if $66,000. Like, out of your hundreds of millions, give us 66 grand.
Yeah. And it shows when Nintendo launched the lawsuit and Pocket Pair said, we really don't know what this is about quite yet because we've been served with the intent to sue, but they haven't actually given us the reasoning. I don't claim to be a legal expert, but I said that at the time that if the lawsuit was not copyright related, then that was proof that Nintendo knew that they really didn't have a case. Because before the lawsuit happened, there were like every internet sleuth was talking about how the models were similar, the characters were copyright infringement, the mechanics was copyright infringement,
That was me.
and you can't copyright game mechanics.
'Cause I thought it was in relation to something about the way that the ball was thrown at the monster to be caught.
That
And
was one of the patents that they're suing over.
yeah, and then another one oh, okay, so that's just one of the and then another one was that throwing the ball unleashed the monster, but I'm guessing that's
Yep.
the thing. But as we saw from the thing, it's the smooth transition of I had that right in front of me.
So
These
that's this is the patent, specifically the patents that Nintendo was trying to get.
yeah. The one
The
that they've
smooth
been granted is the smooth switching of riding objects in a game.
Yeah, getting on a horse and off of it.
Yeah.
Um but in Pal World they actually responded to, they've actually updated the game in sort of a very very shotgun way in response to the lawsuit, where you actually no longer throw a device to summon your pals anymore. When you summon them, they just kind of pop into existence.
Yeah, I
And they
did
very
notice.
clearly did that as uh, a very like broad stroke let's get this out of the game now, and then we can go back to the drawing board and figure out how we can do this in a way that is not going to get us in legal trouble. And also by them doing that, it makes them look better in court, because when it comes to patent and copyright infringement, a big thing that the courts look at is intent. So when Pocket Pair says, when they do something like this, they can then turn around to the court and say, well, look, it was very clearly not intentional on our part. We were told what we were doing wrong, and we changed it. And that goes a long way to reducing damages, reducing penalties, and in some cases, kind of like getting things overturned by the court.
Yeah, because the court's going to look at the state of the product as it is when they're in court, which if they make the changes before that, then they say, oh, yes, okay, so your intention, you don't care about how it's done. You want just these, you've introduced new mechanics in order to achieve a
Right.
different thing, to not infringe upon their rights. If they did leave it in, then that is their intention to violate Nintendo's patents or whatever Nintendo's trying to set up.
Right. And I don't know how your general feeling is on it. In a perfect world, I don't think that game mechanics should be patentable.
I don't think they should be either.
For the same reason that they're not copyrightable, I don't think that they should be patentable. And I do genuinely believe, the fact that Nintendo had 22 of the 23 patents rejected, again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how the legal system works on these, but I do believe that for the most part, the reason that these video game patents exist is strictly for the fact that no one has been willing to challenge their validity. One of the most famous video game patents was the one that I believe Namco Bandai held back in the 90s for loading screen mini games. And
loading screen mini games associated with the game itself.
Yes. And nobody the reason that it stayed until it expired in, I think it was like 2011, because all of these patents do eventually expire after about 20 years.
Yeah.
Is that nobody wanted to challenge it. And also about 5 or 10 years into the patent, video game technology had hit a point where loading screen mini games were no longer necessary.
Yeah, because you're only dealing with like a 10-second loading screen, and what game are you going to play in that time?
Right.
You know.
And so I honestly believe that if a lot of Nintendo's patents were challenged, that they would not hold up to legal scrutiny. Outside of the simple matter that a lot of them are things that Nintendo has not invented.
Do we know the legal standing on a video game patent? Because I understand the patent of a physical object or invention.
Right.
Is the patent related to the code?
Yes.
Okay.
And the legal standing is basically, like I said, it's accepted pretty much on the grounds that it hasn't really been challenged.
Because if the patent's related to the code, then the code's a copyright thing, not a patent thing.
You would think so.
Yeah, I would think so. So that's where I'm confused.
Yeah, I think the whole system around software-based patents is completely convoluted. It's overly broad and vague. and it lets developers get ownership of processes that they probably haven't invented. I mean, for a software patent, like if you're talking about something, there's software patents for server data transfer, but
Uh-huh.
it's a very unique method of handling and transferring data that it's like the person who invented this probably would have been the only person to have invented it.
So we're not talking about like a TCP/IP protocol or like a UDP protocol, because those have been written and those are like data transfer protocols that like anyone
Right.
can.
And I'm sure that to like at some extent when they were invented, there probably was some level of patenting on it. But you're talking about like very specific, very specialized inventions.
Yeah, but I don't know, because like I believe like UDP and TCP/IP were written like 50 years ago. At least the
Right.
foundations of them. So like the idea to even like bring up patenting just a piece of software would have been laughable.
Right. So I mean if they were patented, the patent would have been long since expired.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, this is fascinating to me, and I need to look.
But the idea of patenting a process where a character throws a ball and a monster comes out of it is just ridiculous to me.
And gaining the little bit of lawyer brain that I have, again, the patent is related to smooth switching of writing objects in a game. Switching. So if you go from not on to on, then you're fine. But if you have a switch between one from the other, then it's not fine.
If
And
it's too smooth, I guess you violate Nintendo's patent.
And that's the other thing, is if it's a hard switch between two writing objects, that wouldn't violate the patent either.
Right? Stay
Semi-smooth
tuned.
switching between.
Stay tuned. I'm still waiting on my response back for my pending patent on suing Nintendo fans for copyright infringement. And I'm going to take Nintendo's ass to court every time they sue someone over fan art or ROM hacks.
Yeah, because they can sue over the ROM itself, right?
Well, it's more the use of intellectual property,
Oh yeah.
which is why, every once in a while, I like to diverge into what I call the MMO Fallout consultancy services. Got a bit of a free one here today. Your free bit of MMO consultancy news is if you're making a fan game of a Nintendo property and it's not out yet, shut up. Don't talk to the press. Don't publicize it. Don't have a website up. Don't even talk about it. Wait until it's finished. Get it up on BitTorrent, and then they can't send you a cease and desist.
Not only that, like, it's on BitTorrent. It's everywhere.
Yep. By that point, it's too late. There's no sense in them sending a lawyer threat. It's already out. Don't tie your real name to it, and most importantly, don't talk to the press, because I think it was Jason Schreier a couple of years ago who posted on Twitter, and he said that he actually talked to Nintendo's lawyers. And Nintendo's lawyer said, "Yeah, we check the gaming websites to see when they cover news of fan games. So we like to get a people to DMCA and to send legal threats to." So whenever Eurogamer comments on like an upcoming fan Zelda game, that's just pulling Nintendo's lawyers to their next victim. So once again, as Stephanie Sterling says, it is always moral to not purchase Nintendo games, and never publicize that you're working on a game that Nintendo will probably try to sue you over until it's out and there's nothing they can do about stopping its distribution. One more little bit of news that wasn't on our list
Okay.
that I'm going to talk about for time.
All right.
And it is the ongoing debacle of Xbox and Microsoft. I don't know if you've heard, but the estimates are that Microsoft sold something like 2.4 million Xboxes in 2024.
Oh.
And apparently in Europe, they sold less than like 500,000 units.
Wow.
Phil Spencer has said in an interview with Xbox Era Podcast that he is no longer trying to move PS5 and PC players over to Xbox, and that he is focused on taking their games and making them available on other systems. And we knew that Microsoft was working with Nintendo to port games over to the Switch 2. But there's a lot more games that were previously Xbox only that might be coming to PlayStation, including Gears of War, possibly Halo games, things that you would expect to be first-party console exclusive.
Yeah.
And a lot of that just has to do with the fact that AAA games are expensive as shit to make nowadays, and you can't put them on just one system, especially when your system is third place in console sales.
Is that not what Sony's doing, though?
Sony is doing it, but the PlayStation 5 is the best-selling console.
Yeah.
Like, it's outpacing
why?
the Switch.
But well, fair, yeah. But why? Do we know why?
Because I mean, Xbox has always been lukewarm in Europe and next to dead in Japan.
Absolutely correct.
But Sony just has the library. They got people into the ecosystem, they got people hooked, and they've just kept them.
And just exactly what Nintendo has done, and Microsoft has failed to achieve that. Well, I mean, they did it with Halo a little bit, but look how much they're putting out of Halo.
Right. And Microsoft has just had sort of like, I mean, people forget just how much damage Microsoft has done to itself over the last few generations. Like think of how many people have never bought an Xbox after they went through multiple consoles with the 360 and the Red Ring of Death. You have...
Oh, that's fair. I wasn't even thinking of that. I was thinking about right after that.
Yep, you have the Xbox One reveal with the screw you don't own your own games, the console is going to be online only.
Our friend still brings that up to this day, about how you weren't going to own your own games and the thing needed a phone home every 24 hours.
Yep,
like that
you had
still brought up to me. Like,
yep, you had the comments about where they asked, like, hey, what about people in third world countries who don't have stable internet, or Americans like soldiers and people who work overseas who don't have a stable internet? And the Don Matrick, the CEO of the time, saying, we have a product for that. It's called the 360.
And he may as well just have been giving him the middle finger while he said we have a product for that. It's the 360.
Pretty much. They had the whole... And the killer for that was when Sony had their E3 presentation the following day. And they had the now infamous video of how to trade your PlayStation game, where the guy just hands it and he goes, thank you.
Yeah, that was a huge nail in the coffin for Nintendo, for Microsoft. I'm sorry. For Microsoft.
And also Microsoft had the thing at the time with the Xbox One where they were selling all of the Xbox Ones were bundled with the Kinect.
Yeah.
And people said, I
nobody
don't want to
liked-
connect. And Microsoft's answer was, well, we bundled the Kinect because the system cannot run without a Kinect attached. And it turned out that it really could.
Yeah.
And when you're forcing people to buy $100 attachment that most of them do not want.
They had this vision for the Kinect that, one, would have been way too expensive to achieve, and two, I don't think people were really ready for. The thing was supposed to detect your heartbeat, your temperature when you walked in the room, and it was going to tell you, like, hey, your temperature is up a little bit. You should book a doctor's appointment. You might be getting a fever. I heard you coughing a little bit extra. This makes sense to me. Do you want me to look up a doctor in the area for you, and we can book an appointment? Like, that's what the Kinect was supposed to do, they said. And it never did any of that. It wasn't even as good as the Wii tracking stuff.
Yep. I'd like to point out that after running Microsoft, Don Matrick joined Microsoft after running Electronic Arts into the ground, left Microsoft after running it into the ground, while the Xbox game division, and then joined Zynga, where he proceeded to run them into the ground. And now he's part of an investment capital group, which seems to be the retirement home for a lot of these like really dog shit CEOs.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
But we seem to have come to the end of the show. It's been a very short. How long has it been?
Hour and a half.
It's been very short hour and a half. We started this at 3 o'clock and it's now 4:30.
Yay.
But we got stuff planned in the future, and just to go over the credentials, this is Online for Maintenance, episode number 2, Dear Gamers. And I am Connor. This is Dandruff.
Thank you.
I'm taking a little bit longer than I normally do to queue up the outro. And this is Polaris.